All right, Shalom Israel. Quick video. As you see, PSA from Apostle Ahrayamlab. As you see the title right here to all GMS brothers, camps from Elder Apostle Ahrayamlab. Basically, Apostle going into order. Go to the video and be edified like the rest of the apostle, elder bishops. I'm talking about respecting your authorities in the truth. Comparing it where our brothers got to work and they, listen to their bosses. So you got to listen and not interrupt the apostles when they're speaking. Yeah, I'm going to just play a little bit of it. Watch, share, take heed.
Out there that are in these different camps. You have camp leaders. You have you brothers out there that are in these different camps. You have camp leaders. You have men over you that are set up. You have camp heads, second in command, third in command. You have regional heads, and whatever's going on in your camp, the, higher ups, so to speak, in that camp should be the first to know. So if you're in the New York camp, the higher ups would be the apostles and the bishop. They should be the first to know of any issue going on there. If you're in California, the higher ups like the Elder Muwaddazak, the Elder Barakallah, they should be the first to know what's going on. Same thing with Seattle, same thing with Chicago, same thing with Dallas, same thing with Atlanta. Anywhere, where there are GMS camps, the heads of those camps should know what's going on. What's going on. A brother from another state shouldn't know about a situation going on in that camp before the leaders of that camp. All right? And the scriptures speak about making sure that everything is done decently and in order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here in 1 Corinthians 14:37, because there's seems to be somewhat of a lackadaisical, spirit when it comes to order. And we're not tyrants, so we don't shove the order down your throat. But sometimes you do have to put your foot down, because Jacob run dry shot over you if you don't. If you allow him to. Because that's how Israel is. That's how Jake is. They're hard-headed. And if you don't have a hedge there, they'll cross over that hedge.
Yeah.
So 1 Corinthians 14:37 says, if any man think himself to be a prophet or spiritual, let him acknowledge that the things that I write unto you are the commandments of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And part of the commandments is what? Part of this is what? You have leaders. The scriptures speak about not cursing or reviling the gods. So there is a leadership established, and the leadership is established for order. It's not established to lord over individuals, although you do have that right in certain situations to make sure that things are running properly. So I've said this before, that you brothers in Great Millstone should feel very lucky, and I use that term loosely, because we're not like these other camps, where they got, a iron sinew around your neck. You brothers pretty much are able to come and go as you please, as long as you're doing the work. But if things start getting out of hand, we're gonna, lock down through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So make sure you keep order. Make sure that you're doing things properly. Don't just be doing whatever the hell you want to do. And when you have apostles or bishops or elders speaking, hold your peace. and wait, wait for the elder or the apostle or the bishop or whoever it is to finish saying what they got to say, and then you speak. Then you say what you got to say. You could raise your hand or whatever the case may be. We got to do things orderly. It says, but if any man be ignorant, let him be ignorant. And we're at that point now where we're not here. You brothers that's been in this thing almost 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, we're at the point now where we're not trying to go backwards, bend over backwards and try to, see how you're doing, of course, the scripture say, know the state of thy flock. Be not ignorant to know the state of thy flock. But as far as, trying to keep you on a path that you already know how to function on, we don't have time to keep going back and babysitting. You brothers out here are grown as men. So make sure you keep the order. Make sure that, you stay within your lane. Because if not, then, there's going to be suspensions. There's going to be individuals that are going to be getting kicked out. And there's insubordination is not going to be tolerated. It says, wherefore, brethren, covet to prophesy and forbid not to speak with tongues. This is the main point. Let all things be done decently and in order. So that's the point. Let all things be done decently and in order. There's an order to everything. There's a decent way of doing things. NLT, it says, but be sure that everything is done properly and in order. So, in NIV, but everything should be done in a fitting and orderly way. So let's go to that word decently.
Okay, so, I just wanted to play that part, and with the apostle bringing out the main scripture, it does say too, when you come before the Lord, keep thy foot in thy mouth. And, you got to be careful too when you're young, Cam, because brothers, the men young men on the outside that come try to take over the camp. So, and, we're not tooting the horn, but, we're seasoned over here. We, even though we're a new camp as far as the state, but, I'm coming from LA. So, and I'm connected with the brothers every day. We on chat, and I check in with brothers and everything. So don't get that twisted. As far as you looking from the outside, trying to join the camp and thinking that, just because it's small, you don't have to deal, with a mass overhead of authority. Because we have order over here, and we have counsel every day, pretty much. I mean, when you're around apostle, the elders, you should be in the mind of, like being a good conduct, like as if it is counsel. But, like Apostle Ahrayamlab said, we're not tyrants, and we're not, pulling out scriptures with an iron fist. It does say iron sharpens iron, but there's a way to do it, a proper way to do it. Like he came out with that word, one of those definitions that had proper in it, a proper way to do things. We don't like have a shield on our badge of authority on pinned on our shirt or a uniform, and saying that you're a captain over. We don't need that. The Spirit, it works through as authority. It works through as sifting. It works through many different grooves of the holy men as they speak and teach. So it says, Ecclesiastes 5:1, keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of the Most High, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Yeah. So people don't even think they doing evil when they try to speak over and, try to, come and teach us and all that. a lot of these people with a lot of things don't know they're doing evil. You know, you could do something that you think is small that Most High don't care about it. You doing evil. So you know, um, like we said, it's some camps have many brothers. Some camps have smaller amount of brothers, but you know, you still have to conduct and behave yourself as grown men, like the apostle said, and also as if you're in the presence of a congregation, in the presence, because you know how they used to do it back in the day with Israel. They used to take you and stone you before the whole congregation, so others may fear. You'd be like, man, everybody saw, like, you see what happened to that dude? He got stoned, man. Like, damn, he was crying out and everything. He still, and I could see, man, it was crazy. So, you know, and we speak to ourselves before anything, you know. It's not easy being a leader, you know. It's not, you know, and I don't think every brother was called, you know, out of the world into being that. I don't think nobody was just, you know, like I'm gonna be a leader one day and set up a, you know, you might have good intentions, but you can't guide the church unless like Most High wants you to, unless Most High is dealing with you, because it's a specific way to guide sheep and members and church and all that. It's not like the world, and it's not like you think in your mind. It's almost like that first day of school. You think, yeah, it's gonna be like this, and I'm gonna sit in the back, or I'm gonna do this, and then it ain't nothing like you thought it was. So, you know, the Most High direct our steps. We always say, Lord will, that we keep it, you know.
I'm about to say, what the hell?
What's up? I'm doing a video. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's all right. You know, keep it. I like to use the word kosher, but that's more of a rat thing. I just like the word, but keep it, you know, keeping it well oiled and keeping it, you know, yeah, keep it in the pocket, so to speak, you know, the inner circle. So, yeah, just a PSA, man, you know, and like I said, you can go to the video yourself and read scriptures on that order and, you know, and things that pertain to that, and watch other brothers and that been in, like Apostle mentioned too, 20, 10, 5 years. You should be well, you know, should well know about order and not to be babysitted and all that. So you got to be circumspect. We always go over that, always in prayer. We always say that and everything else. So hopefully it was edifying to the next video. Shalom.